I've worked and I've proven myself and I am better than other people, and people should treat me special.
In my head.
Hey there, everybody. For some reason, the orange light tonight is not orange, but I've learned that like if I flip the camera around a little bit, then I get somewhere. If you don't know, if you're new here, I am Ryan Liberty. I go on walks and I talk about mental health Monday through Friday, and the goal here is to humanize mental health and to show, there are different ways that people show mental health problems, and just to be a little bit more understanding and caring when we think about these issues. So subscribe if you haven't, and we're going to talk tonight about narcissism, and specifically the Narcissistic Personality Index, I believe it is. I don't know, I forgot. I kind of tried to do like a little studying up before I came out here, but it'll be interesting. If you're interested in narcissism, this will be interesting to you, and let me keep going and we'll see what I come up with. So I'm going to be talking about the Narcissistic Personality Inventory. You know what? Let me check and make sure I have that right. Okay, yes, it's the Narcissistic Personality Inventory. That is what we will be talking about tonight. It's not a diagnostic tool. It is merely meant to aid in pointing you in the right direction, basically. So it was developed in 1988, I believe, and it's about a 40-item questionnaire. And you answer, you have two choices for each question. So 2 different statements, you choose the statement that fits you best. At least the version, this is the version that I took online. Anybody can take this. And again, it's not diagnostic, so if you take it and it says that you're highly narcissistic or something, that doesn't mean that you have narcissistic personality disorder, so just be aware of that. But it is interesting in the way that we conceptualize narcissism, and it fits in with the way that I like that the DSM-5 has in their alternative methods for diagnosing personality disorders, where they have listed some maladaptive personality traits, and narcissism, a narcissistic personality disorder in that case, deals with attention seeking and grandiosity, whereas the Narcissistic Personality Inventory has it broken down into 7 different components, and I'm going to talk about those in a minute. But I wanted to mention that the reason why I even looked into this in the first place is because I was talking with a friend last night as I was doing last night's video, and hello if you're watching, and I had made a judgment about a particular person, but I was also kind of blanketing that judgment to a group of people that that person represented for me. And she was kind of commenting like, well, that's a little bit narcissistic, this way that you're judging this person. And I was saying, well, no, I don't think it is narcissistic, because I don't feel superior to that person. I don't feel like above them in a grandiose way. So I was curious, like, I'm always okay with examining my own blind spots, and I took the inventory myself, and it turns out that I have a low spot on the narcissism scale, and I think I'm going to put my score up in my Patreon page as a little extra. I'll do a little extra video right now because I'll forget to say what my score was and discuss it, but it was low, which jives with when I took the DSM personality inventory, the PID-5, I forget what it's called. I took the PID-5, which was developed in conjunction with the DSM, and taking that, I know that I was very low on narcissism, basically. I was low on attention seeking, I believe. I don't know. That didn't... You know what? I'll put those on Patreon too, because I have that information. But I know that I was low, and I don't have any personality disorders according to that. So it's just interesting. I'm not saying that my friend was right or wrong. I'm not trying to prove anything here, but it was interesting because I wanted to understand, like, how do we conceptualize narcissism? Because throughout the years, the word has been passed around in so many different ways that I think people don't really have a good grip on what does it clinically mean? What does it actually mean when it comes to psychology and diagnosing? And, you know, it has a definition. It has a definition other than the way that people typically use it. So I was interested in that. That's why I looked into the Narcissistic Personality Inventory, because I knew that was the place to look, because I knew that they took time to define what narcissism is in that. And they, you know, I'm not good at statistics, but they analyze the data and it's validated. It's not like they just pulled it out of their behind. But all right, let me keep walking because I don't want to bore you with like the behind the scenes stuff. We're going to talk about what the inventory actually entails, what the 7 I don't know what they're called, I guess characteristics of narcissism are, and maybe discuss like maybe, I don't know, examples so you could see if you have them or somebody else has them or whatever. So we'll go from there. Alright, let's see if I can remember the 7 components of the Narcissistic Personality Inventory, the things that we're like measuring for when we take this test. There is authority, self-sufficiency, superiority, exhibitionism, vanity, exploitativeness, and entitlement. So I'd like to just kind of go through them one by one. This is kind of my take on them. This isn't anything official. These words were just kind of picked out of, I guess, my understanding of it is that they, you know, we kind of have a hint when we're measuring for something of what we're looking for. So they kind of like threw in a mix of words and then they started measuring to see how it came together and like which words actually made sense. Again, I'm not a statistic person, but they vetted the words. They made sure that the correct words were used, and these were the 7 that they came up with to describe narcissism. Now, interestingly, the PID-5 took those 7. I don't know that they directly took those 7, but the PID-5 says that narcissism is attention-seeking and grandiosity. And so I looked at these 7 words and I could see how each of them could fall into either attention-seeking or grandiosity or both, and I'd like to discuss that as well as I go through them. So authority. So authority is something that I think we all can relate to. You know, when you are in a position like a boss, or maybe you are a parent, or generally you're just above somebody and you're potentially telling them what to do, controlling something else about them, that would be authority. And you could see how this could relate to the grandiosity, I would say, where you're above. You know, to me, grandiosity just means you're above somebody. You're better than them in some way. And so I see that in authority because you're literally in that position. There's a train coming. So that was authority. What else do we have? We have superiority. So related to authority, feeling like you're above somebody. Authority is kind of more like people come to you and you are, again, you're in control of them. Superiority is more just like feeling above other people. Maybe it's more like a status thing, or I don't know, maybe you feel like you have more wealth than other people. You like to feel like you're more wealthy, you have more beauty, you have a better quality than other people have. That would be superiority, and I could see how that would also tie into grandiosity. That's how I traditionally think of grandiosity for myself. Then we have self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency is basically being able to do things for yourself, but it's more than just being able to do them. It's feeling that you don't need other people. It's feeling that you don't need other people and feeling like other people, you know, I guess more at the extreme, it would feel like other people get in the way. Like you're good, you're an independent woman or independent man or independent non-binary person or whatever. That kind of trope, you know, it's like, I got this, I don't need anybody else. I guess people are coming from the train. I got this, I don't need anybody else. And it's kind of that, remember, these all fall under antagonism in the PID-5, and antagonism pits you against somebody else. So that's how I kind of see sufficiency as pitting me against other people. It's kind of like, well, I don't need you. Okay, there's a car alarm going off. Hopefully it's not bothering you too much. I'm also in the place where that car followed me. I can actually see the car that I believe it was, and I really believe that it was a town car. Seems like it's just parked there today. Hopefully it doesn't turn on and come over here. So there was a day that I got followed, and it was a little creepy, but it seems like it's just some town car. Okay, so what did I mention? I mentioned authority, self-sufficiency, superiority. So we have, oh gosh, what is it called? Well, there is, okay, let's just do that. Exploitativeness is when you prey on people. You know, maybe you know that you are somebody who people find attractive generally, so you use that to get people to do things that they wouldn't normally do. Like you charm people, or maybe you lie to people and manipulate people. Although that's more typically characteristic of antisocial personality disorder. I guess it falls under something like grandiosity again, because you feel a little bit like you're more important than other people, and it's okay to exploit them, exploit their feelings, and get them to do things that they wouldn't normally do. There's also vanity. So vanity is feeling like you're beautiful. You may not actually be beautiful, but feeling like you're beautiful, you're intelligent, there's something special about you. I'm laughing to myself because I know somebody who was always special and got other people to tell that person that they were always special, and that will always be special for me, but not in the way that they wanted me to think of it. So vanity is feeling like there's something about you, some quality that other people should admire, and I can see that a little bit as attention seeking. What else do we have? We have, oh gosh, there's two more E's. There is entitlement. Entitlement is feeling like you deserve things regardless of whether you have earned them. So, you know, feeling like you're entitled to money, feeling like you're entitled to power, access to things that you didn't really do anything to get. So you may feel like you deserve to be the front of the line for no reason other than you are who you are. And that would be, again, I would link that to the grandiosity and feeling above other people. Or you may feel like, you know, when you go somewhere, you deserve to be treated differently than other people. And then what is the last E? The last E is exhibitionism. Okay, exhibitionism, which is funny because that person who I mentioned who was saying that that I have this narcissistic side when I'm judging other people, the person that I was judging was being exhibitionistic, and I was judging that person, and this was just, you know, in my own head. I wasn't like coming out and like saying that to them. I don't even know the person really, but I was judging from afar, and I was seeing, okay, this person's exhibitionistic, and it was bothering me because I feel like it reflects on a part of the culture that I'm a part of. So exhibitionistic behavior is showing yourself, putting yourself in front of people, and trying to get their attention. It's attention seeking, basically, and for that reason it's narcissistic. It's, you know, maybe if you think that you have a sexy body or something, taking clothes off and taking selfies and pictures. Selfies, I would say, are definitely exhibitionistic. And if you know me, I don't really take selfies of myself because it just feels weird to me. You know, maybe trying to get like the lead role in a play, or being a YouTuber could certainly be exhibitionistic, although that's not my personal reasons for doing this. So those are the 7 things that the Narcissistic Personality Inventory are measuring: authority, self-sufficiency, superiority, exhibitionism, vanity, exploitativeness, and entitlement. So there are some flaws to the Narcissistic Personality Inventory. One, obviously, is that you take it yourself, and you may, it's measuring attitudes about yourself, and you may have an attitude about yourself that's inaccurate to what other people might see in you. So it's biased in that it's your own perception of things, and everybody has narcissistic qualities to themselves. Everybody has a little bit of this, so this is why it's not a diagnostic tool. It's just to kind of point you in the direction if you are suspecting that there might be some kind of pathological narcissism going on in your life. Car coming. Now, if you just listen to the 7 characteristics or whatever we're calling these that I mentioned, you can kind of see that people who have these qualities, they would gravitate towards certain occupations like a model or a celebrity or a person who's in charge of things or somebody who earns a lot of money. So it's something to take note of. This car's coming. Just something to take note of. It's not like clinically significant, but again, this is really just about pointing you in the right direction to something that may be going on. And I think that's important. I think that's important because too often there is information spread about narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder that is not accurate, and it doesn't reflect these 7 categories, and it's blown out of proportion. You know, the people who I've spoken to who have narcissistic personality disorder, a lot of them feel like they're victims of things, and they probably are. Usually a personality disorder, not all the time, but a personality disorder is usually a mixture of a temperament and a traumatic experience, which often happens in childhood when your personality is forming. So a lot of times people with narcissistic personality disorder, they had some kind of trauma. They suffered some kind of trauma in childhood. That trauma got integrated into their personality, and then they suffered multiple traumas throughout their life as they continued to live with this personality that wasn't functioning correctly for them. So it's not wrong for them to say that they're victims of things, and it's hard to hear that when you're somebody who maybe has interacted with somebody with narcissistic personality disorder, and maybe you were harmed by them and you feel like a victim. There's no reason why there can't be 2 victims in this case. Very often, okay, let me not say very often because I don't know. Nobody really has measured this carefully. We need a study. We definitely need a study on this, but you know, from hearing what I've heard, a lot of times people with personality disorders, they were harmed by their parents who may have narcissistic personality disorder themselves, and then went on to develop narcissistic personality disorder, and it just keeps getting passed down. But a lot of times people feel like a victim, and they feel like, I am fine, I don't have a personality disorder, this other person does. Here comes another car. The problem with that thinking is that you're not able to critically look at your own behaviors and look at your own attitudes and the way that your pattern of living through life is, then you may miss the opportunity to catch that you may have a personality disorder, which would be life-changing for you to know and then to go on and heal from. So sometimes, you know, not all the times, but sometimes people who are victims of things, they use that victim status, and again, this is not like a conscious thing, this is usually something that's going on unconsciously, but they're using that victim status as a defense from having to see their own part in things. And they're also using that victim status almost in this weird kind of twisted way of gaining a superiority over other people, as in, you have to treat me differently now because I'm a victim, and you have to treat me like I'm special and like there's a specific way that you need to talk to me and operate around me. And while it's true that when somebody's healing from a traumatic event, there is a specific way to talk with them and to validate them and everything, that is not supposed to be long-lasting. That's not supposed to be persistent, and it's not supposed to be it's not supposed to go on and on for the rest of their lives, because then you have a maladaptive pattern. You should be building resilience after a traumatic event so that you can cope with when somebody doesn't validate you. So I don't know, I just thought that was important to throw in there while we're talking about narcissism, because narcissism is very misunderstood. There's too many cars, it's driving me crazy. I hope it's not really coming through too bad in the recording. So what do you think about narcissism? What do you think about the Narcissistic Personality Inventory? Do you think it's interesting? Do you think we should, I don't know, do you think it's good to know about these qualities and to examine whether we have some of these narcissistic qualities? Do you think these are acceptable qualities? I think they're acceptable to a point until they become a pattern it's disordered and it's antagonistic. And so I know a lot of people who have narcissistic personality disorder, they'll think like, well, what's wrong with feeling like I'm better than other people? I am. I've proven it. I've studied, or I've worked on my look or whatever, and the car. And the general thought is like, I've worked and I've proven myself that I am better than other people, and people should treat me special, and people should look up to me, and I should have some control over the way people look at me. And because some of narcissism is egocentric. We like that thing about ourselves. We don't see why it's a problem. We don't see how it's affecting other people, or even if we do see how it's affecting other people, we don't really care. So what I want to know is from you, what do you think about these qualities of authority, self-efficiency, superiority, entitlement, vanity, exhibitionism, and exploitativeness? Do you think any of these are acceptable? Do you think that we shouldn't lump them in with narcissism? What are your thoughts on that? I'd love to hear. I've already said my thoughts, and you're probably not going to change my thoughts because I'm really into this way of defining narcissism as attention-seeking and grandiose. It makes sense to me, but I still want to hear your thoughts because my thoughts aren't the end-all be-all of psychology. So let me know, share it with the community, maybe share some experiences, especially if you have noticed these things within yourself, because we get so caught up sometimes in seeing the negative in everybody else. Share the negative in yourself. Be a little bit vulnerable, be a little bit open. That's what I encourage here, because I do encourage humanizing mental health. And humanizing mental health means admitting that we have flaws, admitting that we do things that are crappy, because that's just life. That's what it is. So if you like these kinds of videos, these mental health videos that I do, please hit subscribe, and then a little bell should show up next to the subscribe button. Hit the bell and you'll get notified every time I do a video. If you'd like to support me, throw a couple dollars my way. You can do that over on Patreon and get some behind the scenes stuff. As I mentioned, I'll put my personal NPI score up there for everyone to see. And thank you as always. I will see you again on Monday.